Normally I would say, hey, babe, but you don't even deserve that right this second, to be honest.
I'm not sure why you're saying that.
You
Welcome
know
to
exactly what I'm
Life's Little
saying.
Arguments with the Kilcos. I'm getting this is Annie. Hey, babe. Oh, so I will go ahead and apologize. I sent
To
to
our
the audience,
listeners?
yes, to the audience, because I am congested, runny, all this stuff right here. I guess it's allergies. I grew up without having any allergies, and I think the older I have gotten, the more I've developed them. So, I sound crazy right now, but you know what? I'm talent, and the show must go on. So here we are. So what are we talking about this week, babe? She has pulled me from live coverage of the election to do this episode because she is committed to you guys. She is committed to making sure that we release this every Wednesday. So we hope you enjoy and give us a like and a follow and all that good stuff she'll say at the end.
Yes, I am committed to that. However, you literally, I don't know why you decided to ruin the energy right before we hit play.
Okay, yeah, it was me. Definitely me.
Well,
Always
please
is.
explain. Please explain and let the listeners.
Woman, I
decide
told
who
you
threw the
when
freaking energy
I
off.
told you when we went on a dog walk this evening, your energy was off.
No, my energy wasn't off. I
Agree to
wasn't
disagree?
feeling great.
Okay, well that sometimes affects your energy.
No, it doesn't have anything to do with what
Okay.
you literally just said.
Okay, so I got frustrated because when we do an intro, we normally just say one thing. Maybe both of us talk, maybe one of us talk, and then we just stop. Well, she asked a question during an intro, which should be a teaser. Well, she looks at me as though I'm supposed to know the answer to the question this time, even though any other time she tells me I talk too much, and then she proceeds to say, "Well, you're not as loud as you normally are," even though any other time she's telling me I'm yelling and I need to turn myself down and yada. I said, "Well, fine. I mean, what do you want me to do? I mean, god dang. I mean, it's damned if I do, damned if I don't." So here we are. She says it's my, I mean, maybe it is my energy. I don't know. Let's talk about it, though.
No, I don't want to talk about it. I really don't want to talk to you right now. So
Okay.
I'm just gonna
This is good.
I'm going to talk to the listeners.
Yeah, and I will chime in every now and again. How about that?
Fantastic.
Awesome. Let's go.
That's great.
We'll get going then.
Love it.
Get going then.
We probably need to shut that door, actually.
It's fine. The dogs are just going to scratch if we don't. I turn the TV downstairs down, so we're good to go.
So it is election night, which is not my favorite night of the year. It's actually maybe my least favorite.
One of my favorite nights of the year, and definitely every 4 years. I look forward to it, and this year Lauren is pretty dialed into it, so I'm trying to educate her without boring her to death and sounding too much like my dad, because I was told yesterday that I'm giving off Johnny K vibes, and that's not too attractive to my wife.
It is not attractive to me. It is absolutely not attractive.
By that, she means, I get frustrated, but because of the censorship on TV and in mainstream media, I get frustrated by that, and she feels that that's giving off Johnny K vibes. So,
yeah,
guilty?
It is.
Guilty.
It's being irritated over things that you have no control over.
That's fair.
Frustrating. But anyway, so, yeah. So this weekend, last weekend we had a little getaway. We went to Tybee with Terry. Terry invited us to come stay. Friends were camping, and we got to stay in Kelly and Stewart's little condo.
That's a cool place.
Adorable, absolutely adorable. Their Airbnb. And Kelly, we found out, listens to the podcast, or I found out. I don't know if you realized. She
said, "I'm going to get a bunch of Tybee Islanders to start listening to your podcast."
We
said, "Thank you very much."
Thank you very much. Let's spread the word.
She's actually the one that said, "Girl, what you crazy? I saw them titties down on Lewis Street."
Yeah, I was so caught. I was completely caught off because I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Did I show my boobs?"
No, you did. But your costume, I mean, pretty much anything you wear is going to show your boobs a little bit, or at least to see that you have boobs.
I look like a hooker, I think, probably.
We have a friend of ours who's getting.
It was supposed to be a. Which?
We have a friend of ours who's getting a boob job, or breast augmentation. What is the problem? Is it?
Why are we talking about that?
I'm not naming anybody's name. I'm just saying a friend of ours is getting a breast augmentation. So that conversation had come up, and of course Annie's boobs come up somehow, and then she was like, "What you talking about, girl? I saw them titties down on Lewis Street." So what they do?
Lewis Street, yeah.
So what they do in Tybee is Pretty much every person that lives there, works there, and everything else.
Lincoln.
They all donate. They donate candy for Halloween, and all of the kids and adults and everyone else just kind of shuts down, and they go to what's called Lewis Street, which is just one big long street.
It's really cool because
all the houses are
most
decorated.
All the houses are decorated. They all sit outside in the yards.
The cool thing about Tybee too is like everyone literally knows everyone.
Yeah.
You know, it's such a small place, and so that's what we talk about with Lewis Street. So we dressed up in what we dressed up in. Well, I did at least. I went in Austin Powers again.
I was trying to do my witch costume that I wore a couple of years ago when we had that photo shoot, and it was
wig free. It was wig free.
It was wig
without wig.
That was important. Yes.
Yes.
I was not wearing my fembot costume down there. I thought that was just too much, but turns out this witch costume was much more revealing than I also expected. Yep. So I felt so freaking uncomfortable. Because I'm walking, I mean, first of all, I had no clue we were going to freaking go down to this Lewis Street. I thought we were going to Huckapoo's. I thought the plan was we were going to Huckapoo's, right? For a Halloween party. Supposedly that's what the whole deal was. And instead, we first make a pit stop and walk down Lewis Street, which I thoroughly enjoyed. However, did not realize that was happening. And I felt very exposed walking around all these kids, all these mom and dads, all these grandma and grandpas giving out candy. Like I was like, so I'm literally like.
It was not that bad.
And my boobies were out. They were there. They were there. I mean, hell, that's what Kelly said. She said, I seen them titties on Lewis Street. So they were out. So, but anyway, it was, as the night got, as it got darker, that it worked out fine because then you couldn't see. But at the very beginning, I was very uncomfortable. But I enjoyed that. I thought that was, I really wish we had somewhere around here that had an atmosphere like that, because it was just such a community atmosphere. It was really cool.
Well, especially when you're with someone like Kelly, because she freaking knows everybody. Yeah, and hugging everybody and going to say hey.
Hey, friend.
Like you feel like you're with a rock star.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Kelly is absolutely a rock star, which is funny because when we were sitting there at the camp, she said something about, Stuart understanding. He's kind of, talking to everybody all the time, extroverted, and she's a little bit more introverted. And she told me that, and I made this face like,
what's that? What?
I'm sorry, you talking about you? Because there ain't nothing about you that I feel like is introverted.
I have never for a second thought that.
She does not. She talks nonstop. I'm like, how can you be introverted, Kelly?
I didn't even realize you breathed. I didn't breathe. I didn't realize you breathed. But her explanation was very similar to yours.
It was. She does that whole, Sunday, it's like I've been out and about the entire time.
I need to just read a book and lay down. Yeah.
I need to be at home.
I need my alone
time. My quiet time. And so I totally get that. And then Monday through Thursday, kind of same thing. And then you hit it hard on Friday and Saturday. So I completely get that. That's pretty much our vibe. Even though we've kind of cut out Friday nights, I feel like, which I love. I like being at home. The more I'm at home, the more I like being at home.
Well, yeah, we were having joy mode.
And I had joy mode this weekend too, because I was so happy that I enjoyed myself so much on our day in Savannah. I don't know if you realize that.
Yes, I did realize it, and I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
it.
No, it was cool. I'm glad we broke away and did our own thing for a minute. So
yeah, so everybody else, I don't even know what their plans were, honestly, but it was on Friday, and plus we were watching the Georgia game on Saturday. So on Friday, I knew that we were there. I'm like, let's go to Savannah. We haven't been here in several years.
We love Savannah. Savannah's so beautiful.
And I'm like, here's some things that I want to do, and I wanted to try a couple of little different spots to have a drink. And then I also wanted to go to a couple of stores, and I don't know what kind of stores I'm like, how I want to describe them. They're like crystal stores, not witchcraft. That's not the right word, but
not voodoo.
Not voodoo, like just
spiritual.
Yes,
spiritual.
Yeah. To find some things, and so we found a really cute little store after we had lunch that day.
Best customer service I have ever experienced in my life. My
horrible.
God, I literally so we're sitting here looking at these stones, and they have these jars that you can put a little.
Making my own spirit.
Yeah, put a little of this and a little of that, and of course each one of them is supposed to mean something. Well, I'm like, hey. So first, the girl never even said hey to us when we walked in. I'm like, okay, she's dressed in black, and maybe it's just the vibe. Well, I'm like, hey, we might need some help with these jars. She was
He
like,
had to say that because, of course, I'm not going to
no,
speak
because
up and say that.
we're literally standing there looking through
I'm
this
standing
shit
looking at it.
for like 7
No
or
idea.
8 minutes, and I'm like, I said, hey, we may need some help with this. She said, okay. Didn't move. Didn't move. I don't even think she looked our
Not
way.
even
She just
didn't
said,
move.
okay.
You looked over literally 2 minutes later, 100% dead asleep.
Well,
Sitting
yeah,
up.
she was. Yeah,
Sitting up, dead asleep.
but then after she said okay, it didn't help. We were still struggling a little bit, and we were looking for this particular stone
No,
or
so
whatever.
finally I had to say, I want to make a spell jar. Like, how do I do this? And she's like, oh, well, you have to get the jar from me.
Oh yeah, yeah. You have to ask me for the jar.
Okay. This is me asking you for the
Yeah,
jar.
yeah. So then we're looking at these things, and so I finally say, hey, we need some help with this particular
Like,
stone.
I don't know what I'm
Her
supposed to
response. The jars are labeled. I said,
you
no
didn't.
shit. That's what we're looking at. We can't. We know that they're labeled, and the one that we're looking for is not even. Oh my.
But did you really say that?
No. I'm
Okay,
like Lord
Lauren.
now.
In your head.
But I was dumbfounded. I was taken aback because I was like, I mean, this is what I expect at
They
McDonald's.
were not labeled. I mean, clearly, I can see that they're labeled, and this one is not here anywhere. And so she comes over there and she looks, and she's like, "Yeah, no, we don't have that one."
So anyway, that's
Okay.
about the point.
Well, this spell jar is not working out so well for me
Yeah,
right now.
that's about the point where I said, "Okay, I'm gonna see you outside," because I was about to lose my temper at that point.
You
So.
went outside because I don't need. If she's a witch, I don't need her trying to put a spell
that's
on
the
you.
truth.
So I'm like, you just be quiet and you go outside and let me finish this. And so I got to do my little spell jar, which is so cute. I put all my different little rocks and things in it, and then I sealed it. You got to seal it. I figured that out after the other girl came out, who was the nice girl.
Okay, that's right.
I say
Who's
nice
probably the owner?
She just actually cared.
Yeah.
You know, and was older. And so she's like, oh, okay, let me show you how to do this. And so you seal it with the wax, and they had all the different color candles there and everything. And so that was kind of cool. And then I picked out, I don't know how many crystals, several crystals for you. And for
You
me
haven't
and
given
everything.
me one, by the way. You said you were going to make me a jar for my vehicle of
No.
abundance and all this other
Okay, well,
stuff.
I didn't make, well, the jar, we couldn't do the abundance jar because they didn't have all the crystals. We didn't have the right,
I didn't know you had to have all of them.
if you want the spell to work.
Okay.
So I had to go a different direction.
So 189 minutes later, my butt's asleep.
I could have been in there forever. I was looking at all of them, but I picked out all kinds of different crystals. I've got to charge them. I haven't done that since we've gotten home yet, but I'll figure that out. And I got a little spell book. It's for a spell book, 365 spells for the good witch. And so it's just cute little, every day there's something different that you can do or whatever. And so I'm going to look into those, but I got to go get the different color candles. And I should have gotten them there, but I didn't really realize I needed them there until after we left and read the book. And I'm like, oh shit, I need those candles. So I got to figure that out. But it was I loved it. It was a very, very cute little store.
I made friends with a passerby dog that you could see from, 20 feet away that she was blind. She was old. She had cataracts and all this other stuff. And so the lady walks by and I'm talking to the dog, and then they leave and then they come back. So Annie's coming out and the dog's comes in, and I said, I'm making some noise or like trying to talk to the dog. And she was like, why are you making that noise? Why are you trying? I said, well, the dog's blind. It was in front of us. She was like, how do you know he's blind? I was like, you see that big yellow vest that says blind dog on it? That dog is blind. She couldn't see the eyes, but she probably would have picked up on it too. But anyhow, yeah, so that was cool. I knew that meant a lot to you. I know that that's kind of like your love language and all that stuff. And so I sucked it up.
Well, so okay, and so we had the food was good. The
was
place we went
great,
to
yeah.
eat was great. I cannot remember the name of it to save my life, but it was like an original place
Yeah.
that has like continued on from like 1905 or something.
Yeah.
And then we, when we kind of bar hopped, we went to, where was the first place we went?
Well, that was the first place.
Was it? Okay, and then so then I wanted to go to that Myrtle and Rose.
Yeah, that was awesome. They had this specialty
It was
mini
no.
martini.
Okay, so I found a girl on TikTok who was like, oh, you got to go here, and it looks so cute. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's.
It was you could see the water in the background. It was a nice place.
It's a rooftop bar, and so I'm like, we're gonna go here, and we went, and but the drinks were not what the girl showed on TikTok.
So much so, I didn't even get a
thrown.
drink. Which
I was thrown, and I feel like maybe because it was Friday evening, it was close to like that 3 or 4 o'clock that we maybe needed a reservation because we ended up having to sit at the bar, which is not really the vibe I wanted either. But whatever. And so then once we got there, I'm like, well, shit. Well, now I feel like I have to order a drink because I'm sitting at the bar, and so none of them sounded good. So I got the little. It was a mini. It called
don't
it a
use the word
mini,
little.
A
The
mini
word is.
martini.
Imagine getting a martini glass that this is bigger than.
It was
like, so here's my
basically-
hand. Well, it's probably about like maybe like this.
It was maybe 3 inches tall.
And the bartender started laughing. She's like, "No, that's why we call it a mini." And she said, "But I got you an extra one." So she gave her 2 minis.
Yeah, so I think the order would have been just one of those.
Absolutely, it blew my
For
mind.
like $10.
Like when I say it
$12.
was a sip, I mean like
It
she
was
had
a
to hold it
shot.
like this.
It was so funny. It was
Yeah.
so funny. I was like,
But
okay,
honestly, that's the
tiny,
kind of
teeny
drink you
time.
need because you normally nurse your drinks like.
It is. It worked out. It worked out just fine for me. But they were so. That was kind of funny. Then when they pulled those up, that was kind of cute.
Yeah.
So we only did one drink there, that one tiny teeny, and then left and went to my favorite was the bubbly bar.
Oh, that place is cool.
But
Such a cool vibe.
They called it Bar Bubbly.
So yeah.
It was really, really cool. It was like the ugliest furniture you can possibly ever imagine.
And just stacked in there. It wasn't like
some
neat.
outdoor, some indoor.
Yeah.
Like they had, but it was the cutest thing. And their bar, it glowed.
Yeah.
It had lights underneath it or whatever. I still swear that it's like a natural.
The bartender, who
natural
I'm
rock,
assuming
but-
is probably the owner, great conversation, like gave us a lot of good information.
And he said your dogs are welcome in here,
Yeah.
which I thought
We will
that's
know that for
great.
next
We'll know that for
time,
next
so.
time. But it's a champagne bar, so I got to go. I had 2 bottles of, I don't know, some sort of champagne.
Yeah.
And it was the bottles were so cute. I'm like, you sold me. I'm sold. This is me. I'm sold. You could sell me on this every day of the week. I sit there and have a glass of champagne. Hello? Like, it's just not the same coming home and having a glass of champagne. Like, I don't want to open
Of
a
course,
whole big
yeah.
bottle.
Who
for
drinks
just me.
champagne at home just for the hell of it?
Well,
No
I mean, I
one.
would.
On New Year's Eve, maybe. Well, you would and you have, but it just makes no sense to me.
Right, and I have that ginormous bottle downstairs, but this was, the individual bottles, and they were so cute, and just the whole thing was cute. The vibe was
So Savannah is just such a cool place. I mean, obviously most of the people listening have probably been there. If not, you need to go. And I would say for us, probably like 3 days is ideal. Like we could tour Savannah and have a good time at Savannah.
yeah.
But without a beach, you're going to be like, okay,
Yeah,
that's
2 days would
enough for
probably
me.
honestly
So
be fine. But so we did the 2 speakeasies, which were really cool.
yep.
The one was in the basement of where the others ate dinner. We ended up we went over there to meet everybody for dinner. We hadn't seen anybody all day long because we came and did our own thing in Savannah, which I truly love. And I usually have a little bit of FOMO of what everybody else is doing, but I did not because I was truly just happy to break away and do my own thing. And I think that's where I'm really realizing, like, I don't really like being on everybody else's time schedule. I think I do struggle with that. Like, I like doing group things, but in situations like this, I don't like being on everybody else's
Well,
time
and
schedule.
I think that's why we struggle sometimes with our friend group, especially when you go places, because they are all here.
Yeah.
And we or you are just the opposite of that, or the difference is they're the type that get up and 7:30 in the morning they've
Yeah,
showered, they're ready,
yeah.
they're
And
so
that's not
so
me.
if there is somewhat of a ad hoc kind of thing they want to do, they're already ready to go.
True.
Whereas in you and I, like, shit, we hadn't even. I mean, we're still having morning sex over here, and y'all are ready to go get brunch. You know what I mean?
So this was the first time where we went and kind of did our own thing, even though we were with the group for the weekend, that I really had complete peace about it, and I loved it, and I enjoyed it so much. So I really enjoyed that. But we did meet up for them for dinner, but then you and I decided not to eat dinner there because it was not my favorite food, which I also appreciate because I had the best dinner ever.
Yeah, it was a Chinese restaurant, which I would have liked. I mean, but I knew that Annie probably would have been like struggling to find something she liked. So we ended up going to one of our favorite restaurants and having a great meal and all that stuff. And then
we came back to the speakeasy. So we went to the one
That's true.
downstairs, which that one was a bit like a basic, I mean, not basic, like, but you had to know it was there, first of all. And of course we knew it was there. That was the plan, to go down there. And we went down to that one, and we only had like one, even though I think were those the ones that had like the $40, they were drinking like $40
I don't know, but
old-fashions?
we had to go get we got mojitos, so we had to go out to the common
No,
area.
that was the different one. That was the second one. We went to the first one, which was underneath the Chinese place. I don't even know if Chinese is
I
the right
don't
word.
remember that.
Yeah, babe. That's that one that actually had the neon sign that said "Send nudes."
Oh, okay.
That
See,
was the first
okay.
one.
You're right.
And then we went to the second one, and the second one was very, very secret because that one you actually had to have a code
To get into the door,
get in.
which
And
we
if you
struggled
did
with,
not
apparently.
know it was there, you would not be told. They're not just handing that out. They're not just telling you about it. You got to know it's there. Request the code, and they tell you. And so that was really cute
That's
because you
kinda
had your
gangster.
your secret doors or whatever. And the secret door opened. It didn't open through a bookcase, which would have been really cool. But
The exit opened to a bookcase.
the exit
though.
brought us out through the bookcase, but the entrance, it went through a bathroom. I didn't even realize. I thought it was very strange. We walked straight into a sink. I was like, oh, that's strange, but I was videoing, so I didn't turn to my left and see the toilet on the other side. But after the fact, I realized I'm like, they just brought us through
I
a
just
bathroom.
realized when you kept saying that, I didn't put two and two together. So that was a bathroom door.
That was a bathroom door. I guess it's a bathroom door.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, at one point it probably was,
Yeah.
which makes sense. But that didn't even click with me. So, anyways, yeah. So we struggled to get into the door because a couple of friends had been here before, and they went in through the bookcase. So they kept trying to move shit on the bookcase, thinking, okay, if I push this or if I pull that, or we're like,
Mom
no.
was like, no, the middle door,
No,
the middle door, and I'm like. Do you
Okay,
call
well,
it a
first of
middle door?
all,
'Cause that's not really a door on this side.
she was not Asian.
Oh,
Second of
okay.
all, I don't know where that accent came from. Third of all,
Oh.
that was as offensive as hell. Because she just said the middle door. I'm just messing with you. But anyhow, we were struggling to get in there too. So,
But anyway, we got in there, and it was a cute vibe too. They were celebrating the Day of the Dead, and had a drink there, and then
that whole Day of the Dead setup was really cool. Yeah,
it was, and it was it was a little bit creepy. Terry was definitely she was creeped out. She was getting a chill bumps the entire time, so it was freaking her out a little bit. But and then everybody else went home, and we decided to do
a top list that she wanted to do in Savannah. She decided she wanted to do a ghost tour.
We packed so much into this one day. We really did.
Yeah, which for me is a big deal because normally, like, my knees and my ankles and my back are hurting so bad. I'm like, I just can't do it anymore. Blah blah blah. But it was a good time. It was a good time.
And so the ghost tour was not my best pick. I should have done some more research.
Wait,
I
no.
was
To your
tired.
defense, it was rated like a 4.8 or 4.9.
Well, and I was trying to find one that wasn't 10 o'clock at night. Like, it was like 7:30, and we're trying to find one a little sooner. And we found one that was at 8:30. I'm like, okay, we can make this one. And we're rushing there, and we get there, and we make it in time, and realize after about the third bar that
It was bar hop. That's what we were doing, is bar hopping.
hop than a ghost tour. Even though there were some ghost stories.
And you learned some stuff about the city.
We did, and we went to a couple places that you wouldn't have known were there.
We wouldn't have known those bars were there. But this is like their thing because all of the bars that were on this tour, every time we got there was like another group there. And there was another group that had left before them. Like the last one we got to, I think they had a little bottleneck or something. And there was, I think, 4 or 5 groups there at one time, and it was crowded and whatnot. But we ended up just we're at the next to last bar, and I went and told the girl, I said, "Hey, look, we're near our parking spot now. We're just gonna go ahead and dip out." She hit me with that Venmo code.
She sure did. And what's crazy because so who's the money going to? Because we paid $35.
Well,
a person.
she works for this outfit. She works for this.
Yeah, so
company.
you're telling me they don't pay her?
I'm guessing they probably pay her a little bit,
She
and then
said
that's
how I get paid.
Well, that's like a waitress. A waitress,
I mean, you're right.
They get paid $3 an hour.
We sent her a Venmo,
But anyway, so I
out
enjoyed
by
being
that
with
point.
you doing that, but I was a little disappointed because
Yeah.
I wanted to be freaked out. I wanted to
did
be in the
too.
graveyard. I wanted to be
don't want-
crawling up under buildings. I wanted it to be.
under buildings.
Well, I mean, I'm just making stuff up, but
No. I wanted to take a picture and see something in the picture. I did want to do that, but that didn't happen. So next time we will find a better ghost tour to do.
Yeah.
But
So
I
if you
really enjoyed that day.
have been to Savannah and you thoroughly enjoyed a scary ghost tour, please send us the name.
I don't know if there are really any scary ones there, but
No,
maybe
you take me in that damn cemetery. You could take me in the cemetery and just look at me, and it's gonna freak me
I
out.
don't want to go to the cemetery. No, thank you.
No, but for example, this is one of the things you learn on this ghost tour. You know, you have these squares. I think there's like 23 squares or whatever it is, and there you have this moss oak or
Awesome. What?
oak moss that grows on these big old trees, right? And that's kind of what people think of when they think of Savannah. Well, there was this one square that was absent of any of the moss hanging from the trees. And it's like one of those deals you don't really think about it until they tell you, and then because they were like, "What's one thing that's missing?" And you're looking, and somebody was like, "The moss on the trees," and we're like, "Shit." Well, come to find out, there was like some yellow fever or something like that, in like 18 something, and killed a lot of people, and so what they did was all these people that died, they just buried them in this square because they didn't have anything else to do with them, and they didn't want it to spread into hospitals and all that stuff. So these people died, and then they buried them in this square. And I guess because of the
legend has it
because of the infection and all
the
that stuff.
Infection got into the trees and it killed off the moss, and the moss has never grown back there.
Now, whether or not that's true or not, I don't know, but if it is, that's pretty cool, and those are the kind of things that's like, it's not really scary, but
that was the square that I can't remember the guy's name, but it was the guy who, I don't want to say invented, but basically invented one of the religions. What's one of the religions?
Baptism? I thought it was some form of I thought it was some form of baptism though.
It starts with an M. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Methodology?
It was like Methodist.
Yeah, some version of it, yeah.
They didn't call it Methodist. It was Mythologizm.
Yeah.
Anyway, butchering that completely. Anyway, whatever his name was, he was a creep. But it was the square that his monument is in.
Yeah.
So
little stuff like that.
If you're there next time, check that out, because it really is not there. It's not there.
Not at all. Yeah.
And it's everywhere else. So that was kind of cool. The tunnels. I don't know that I really knew about the tunnels.
I would never have even known that they were there.
I've been to Savannah several times, and I've walked on that area, and I don't ever recall seeing those tunnels. But I guess you wouldn't know if you didn't know. And
but it talked about the Underground Railroad and the slavery and all that stuff, where how they used the tunnels and all that. So it was pretty.
Anna that was in the
window.
Up
in the window, yeah.
Anyway, so it was pretty cool. And so then we just.
So if you got it scary, if you have an outfit or a recommendation that's really scary, let us know. And the other thing that's cool about Savannah, I don't know, we've not been in years, but for some reason, I envision Savannah being farther away than it is. Or like Tybee being farther away than, and I always thought Tybee and Savannah were farther away. Like they're literally right there.
Yeah,
like it's 10-minute drive to Savannah kind of thing.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a perfect weekend where we stayed. Like I said, their Airbnb. It is an Airbnb, so you can rent it. It's perfect location.
Georgia won.
That was great.
We had our friends had several campers lined up, and then. Some of the friends from Tybee, they all rode their bikes down there, and so by the end of the night, there were probably
group,
30 or 40 of us watching football and hanging out and that kind of thing. Yeah. So it was a good night.
It was a good time. So I was thinking about the election, and do you know that I was researching it, because I remember in the year 2000, the election, I was almost 9 months pregnant, about ready to pop, and I went to vote, stood in line forever. I mean, forever. I was miserable that day, and voted, and that was on what had to been the 6th, the 7th, something like that. And then I went into labor with Jackson on the 20th. I have to think about what his birthday is.
That's the 20th of November.
So I went in the 19th, had him on the 20th. Anyway, I took the baby book to the hospital with me, thinking I would fill some of the stuff out. And when I got to the point of who's the president, I could not fill in the name. We at that point did not know who the president was. That was the election of 2000, and that was George W. Bush and Al Gore.
Do you remember what happened?
Yes, well, I don't, but I went and researched it, and it was that was the whole hanging chads. Remember in Florida? I think that was the whole hanging chads thing. It was something. It came down to it came down to Florida, which I think was a controversy, because I think Jeb Bush was the governor, which is George's brother or whatever. Anyway, I think what I read is that was the first. That's either the first time ever or like first time in a long time where the person who won the popular vote did not win
The electoral vote.
the electoral vote.
Okay.
So, and it came down to basically Florida, and there was a whole controversy afterwards.
Yeah.
Gore conceded to Bush, but after the fact, like, I mean, it went to the Supreme Court and everything, and it finally on December 13th. So it went
That's crazy.
from the whatever 6th, 7th, 5th, whatever, through December 13th before we knew who, in fact, was going to be the president. And it went through all the court cases and went to the Supreme Court and all of that, and they ruled blah, blah, blah.
I had forgotten all about that.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Because you think, like, the election last year was so ridiculous.
Or last time, yeah.
Like, yeah, last time. But, like, I don't really, I don't get into this stuff. I'm not into politics. I don't, whatever. I don't have time for that. I can't get into all this negative stuff. I can't do it. And so I didn't pay attention to really all of that. The only thing that that stood out to me is I remember giving birth.
You didn't have a name to write.
Still didn't have a president's name to write in the baby book. And I don't know that I ever did. I don't know. I need to go find his baby book because I wonder did I ever pull it out.
I know exactly where it is.
If I ever pulled it out and put his...
It's in the attic under the right table in the tote in the back.
Yes. That is so... The attic is amazing.
Yeah.
I enjoy that so much. That's such adulting. It makes me sad that I'm happy about it, but I'm also happy that I'm happy about it.
It's organization, so I love it.
It's nice. So that brings me into another question that somebody sent in to us, because I do feel like I wrote on when you posted it on Facebook, I'm like, that's my love language. Organization is my love language, and you're like, excuse me. And I get where that could be confusing because I'm not necessarily an organized, everything in the house is organized, but I do love organization.
Do you love it or do you love the thought of it?
I love it. See, now, like, I know you think my desk looks like a mess, but I know where everything is.
No, I feel you on that because my entire life.
I do love the look of organization. Like to open up a closet and have the clear bins and everything in a clear bin, like, that makes me happy. And I think that might be my love language right now. But anyway, the point is that we had somebody write in a question and ask us.
Shout out. I'm not going to say the name, but thank you for sending the question.
Yes, thank you for sending this question. Wanted to know, do we think that our love languages have changed over the years, like as we've gotten older?
Well, first of all, I think we need to define for the purpose of this. Love language is not the normal 5 or 4 or how many ever quote unquote love languages.
Know which is which.
Obviously, organization is not one of the main love languages. But
really?
you saying it
should be.
But you saying it, that's how we're considering it for the purpose of this conversation, right? Okay.
I think.
So do you feel like yours has changed or evolved? I think we use the word evolve.
I don't know. I'm really trying to think what my love language would have been back when we first got together. Here's the other thing. I don't really know what are the 5 love languages. I mean, I know there's like physical touch and
words of affirmation,
acts of service.
That's what I get.
We got 3.
But I don't think there's but like 4 or 5 of them. I don't think.
Right. We should probably know this.
I mean, if we're going to be professional podcasters talking about love language, we should have done some homework. We'll know better for next time.
Well, you got a phone right there. Why don't you
You
Google
tell
it?
me. You see,
right now, I'm asking you to research. I'm not saying get on there and start Facebooking.
So you knew
people.
exactly what I was going to say.
I did.
Hey Siri, what are the accepted love languages? Keep talking.
Accepted.
Okay, the 5, which is what I said. You have words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch.
Okay, and why does your Siri talk to you? Mine does not do that.
Because I'm talented. So my words of affirmation, I think, have always been there for me. Probably always will be. Acts of service, I think, have probably always been there. Physical touch, I think, has grown more than it used to be. I've always been into that, but I think now I like it and appreciate it more, maybe.
I think I probably needed and wanted quality time when we first got together. I think that was probably a big one for me. I think
Now
probably
you need quality untime.
yes, and then probably like I think physical touch was probably pretty important at that point.
I don't think either one of us have ever been like big gift givers.
I wish you were a bigger gift giver.
Well, my problem is even if I'm going to give a gift, I want to ruin the surprise. You know,
Yeah,
like
you
it's hard for me to sit back and
Yeah, we
not
don't
do it.
really do a whole lot of gifts. We just if we want it, we just go out and let's do it or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think now, yeah, quality time is definitely lower on the list. Physical touch is lower on the
way
list.
at the bottom. Way at the bottom.
I think I like.
Unless you're on vacation, then
Then
it's okay.
Hey, and I did pretty good this
I agree.
weekend.
We had another good streak. Three in a row is what we call a streak in sports.
I think words of affirmation. I think that has risen to the top for me.
Really?
Yeah. And is it words of affirmation or is it just like, I really want you to tell me that this project I just did, like, tell me how good it is. Is that words of affirmation?
It's literally the definition of words of affirmation. No, I think what you're confusing it where what you're thinking about is really just acknowledgement.
Yes.
Yeah, like whether or not I say it's good or great or whatever, I don't think is as important as let me sit here and you tell me.
Yes.
Let me listen to what you have going on.
I need to show it to you. Look at the. I just made this video. I need you to watch it.
Yeah.
Because that's actually what I would say. Exactly.
No,
I
know.
need you to watch it.
I
and
know.
not just
I'm your
watch it.
husband.
I want you to point out why it's good.
Yeah, but don't point out why it's not
Exactly. Don't tell me what I need to fix because I didn't ask for that.
And I think some of that I think is becoming more and more important because you are very much into the spiritual stuff and the meditation and all this other stuff. And for whatever reason, I guess I know your reason, you don't think that interests me. Even though I've told you multiple times I'm interested, I just don't go about it the same way you do. But I think that's your way of kind of feeling heard or this is important to me. I want you to know that it's important to me. And I kind of dig it. I kind of get into it. Now, I will tell you what's funny is when I tell stories, I'm a talker. Everybody knows I'm a talker. And maybe I'll give a damn detail that does not matter, does not add value. And I get harassed for it every damn time, every single time. Yet this woman right here is going to tell a story. And she will go off on these.
Can I tell you the
No,
difference?
I'm talking right now. Damn it! And she will go off, and I will literally say to her, "Does it?" Because this is when I really get her, is when she loses track of this thing that doesn't matter. And I will say, "Does this add any value whatsoever to this story?" And the answer is always no. But let me damn tell a story, give one extra detail.
Okay,
It's the end of the world.
Okay, here's the difference. It's not the story that you tell where you give extra details. It's when you want to tell me about a conversation that you had with somebody.
And I said this, and they said this. And
well, what I said to them was,
Yeah.
hey, Karen, how about this? Blah, 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 blah. And what Karen said was, hey, okay, Kent, how about this? And I'm like, that's not necessary. Just say, I told Karen this. Like, I don't need all that other in between he said, she. I don't need the whole paragraph written out.
That's fair.
That's what you do.
I don't know why I do that.
It
I think I
drives
have
me
tried to
batty.
make a conscious effort. You know, what gets on my nerves about myself is when I repeat myself.
Oh, God.
Like when I'm talking to
horrible.
like clients and stuff, I can feel myself doing it. And I think the reason why that's been ingrained in me is because like I'm the type of person that when someone's saying something and I hear and I understand it or whatever, I typically acknowledge it.
Yeah, you just need to ask for understanding rather than repeating yourself. That's a classic.
But the point is, she does the same
classic
shit.
coaching
She
right
does
here.
the same
Like I could
shit.
do this in my sleep and tell you that.
You know,
ask for understanding. Does that make sense? And they say yes, then you move on. I also think you don't.
Here's what
I
this
also think
comes
you're
from.
not comfortable with silence.
Duh. I mean,
And that's another like
anyone knows
you need
that.
to be able to have silence.
Anyone who knows me knows I'm not comfortable with silence. But my reasoning for that it comes back to the A call.
Oh, for sure.
Everything goes back to the ACOS.
Well, it does, and that's why
No.
you wouldn't get one, because you need to ask for understanding.
Yeah.
Your AHT was definitely way too high.
I was good, but
Always.
my AHT was high.
Your AHT.
Did I
sucked.
ever work for you, by the way?
No, but
No.
you don't need to have worked for me to know all this.
I'm so glad I
I
didn't.
can tell. You would have loved me. You would have been flirting with me so hard.
I had one supervisor that I flirted with
Oh.
when I was coming up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, spill the beans.
No, I'm not
go
going to
ahead.
spill the beans.
I bet I could guess. Let me think. Who might have been in front of you?
It would have been in sales. And when I first started, you
Was
wouldn't
she
even
blonde?
know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know.
Probably Courtney.
No, God, no. No, I never. Courtney and I were coming up together.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
Paige.
No.
Let me think about these other blondes.
You remember Christy Donaldson?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think you maybe you told me that before.
I probably have. I used to love. She was a trip to me, man.
I feel like Christy maybe had moved on before
I think so too.
was around the sales area.
Yeah. Oh, she definitely had by then. But anyhow, she was always cool. She was always one of those like guy in a girl body kind of person, So
I was like that with the guy. My favorite section was a section full of guys. I think there was one chick in it, but it was all a bunch of guys, and I adored them because I literally could tell them, sit down and shut the hell up.
that was when
Get
you were
back
in
on the
sales.
phone. Yes,
Yeah, I remember
they
when
were
you
my
had that section.
favorite.
That was a cool
and
group.
they didn't cry. They didn't.
They all
pout,
performed
they
well.
Just performed well.
Yeah.
And
They loved you too, by the way.
I adored them.
Your
absolutely.
battery on your thing's getting kind of low, just an FYI.
Okay. So anyway, so did we answer the question?
Has your
Did you
love
answer the
language
question?
evolved? I think physical touch is probably the same for me. Words of affirmation is the same for me. Quality time, I would say I probably that's I need that more than I used to, I think. But I think a lot of that has to do with just the time away when you had the boutique. You know what I mean? That's when I
didn't
needed it.
realize how.
That's when I needed it more than I really need it now. But there was a period of time where it was like any time at all that I can get, quality time was important, because even though when we were together, your mind was just somewhere else
So
constantly.
do you think you had harbored a little bit of resentment about the boutique because of that? And do you think it's because you maybe were starting something new, maybe not as busy?
Yeah.
Like if you still worked at Geico, or you were like doing what you do now, do you feel like it would be different?
I don't.
Do you think you still would have a little bit of, you can't ever turn it off?
I think that I would still have that. In fact, I'd probably have it even more, because then the amount of time that we would have been together would have been even less. And when I worked for Geico, like I couldn't turn it off. You know what I mean? It was like, you're either you're working 8, 9, 10 hours a day, and then you come home and you're working 2 or 3 hours, or you're preparing for this, you're preparing. It's like just the next. So I think that it would have been even worse. We would not have had much communication at all. It would have been really, really tough, I think. So I'm glad that we didn't have to go through that situation.
I'm really surprised. What were the 5 love languages again? Quality
Physical
time,
touch,
physical touch,
words of affirmation, gift giving,
gift
and
giving.
acts of service.
Acts of service. I'm surprised there's not a love language around communication.
Well, I mean, I think communication is kind of the overwhelming thing that fits into that. I mean, like acts of service, I think you have to know what's important, what act is important, why the act is important, how it's important, and that kind of comes through communication. Like, for example, I know that, me vacuuming the floors is something that you're going to appreciate. I know that me doing the attic when you went out of town is something that you're going to appreciate, but there's other things that I could do that, sure, I might intend for them to be acts of service. Like I might go cut the grass because I want it to look good for you, although it's not important to you. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that's kind of where communication comes in. The gift giving, I think, is the same thing. Like, part of the joy in gift giving is knowing what's going to be important to that person, or knowing what they're going to appreciate. Like Colby giving them, like he knew that this was going to be something that you really liked.
I will say, like, we don't really celebrate like anniversaries or birthdays or Valentines or really any of that. We don't do any of that.
Yeah.
But when you threw me that surprise party, or you had, Katie and Kelly or whoever it was, put that together a couple of years ago, like, I forgot how much it was, how fun what kind of joy that brought to have, like, a thing like that happen. Now, I'm not saying, like, you shouldn't be having surprise parties every year. In my opinion, I think that's too much. Like, this needs to be a once in a blue moon.
Well,
type
I
thing.
think about
But
too, like when I don't know if it was your 40th, but when we did it in Ohio,
yes,
and we walked into that bar, and Courtney and Amy had put all these pictures and
yes,
all these
yeah,
things,
yeah,
and like, so to me, that was a special moment. It wasn't even my birthday, but to see the thought that they put into that,
yeah.
I thought was really, really cool. And then for my 40th, we get a knock on the door and the two of them
Yeah.
show up. I mean, it's just like little.
They've done the best surprises.
Yes.
They've really outdone anything that I feel like I could reciprocate.
Yeah.
So
But anyway, so I get back to, I think communication plays in. So for even like physical touch, like if you are open when your communication and you have a good understanding of each other, like that physical touch is just accelerated 100 times. If you don't communicate with each other, then the physical touch is just sex. It's just
and I
the physical touch.
Yeah, I hope I hope couples are out there are communicating. I hope they're out there talking, because, man, you got to talk about things,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to, like, the sex piece.
Yeah, I mean, I think that communication is probably, and I'm just completely speculating. I'm certainly no expert, but I think communication
But he has talent.
or lack thereof is probably the biggest obstacle in most relationships. Of course, you could say money and that kind of thing, and all that stuff's been important, but even that gets back to your communication.
Yeah.
You try to blend the family. That gets back to communication. You try to, if you're having trouble in the bedroom, that gets back to communicate. Everything kind of leads back to communication. So that's probably why it's not a separate, love language, because it's a part of everything. So.
And it's hard. I sit here and act like it's easy, and it's not, because
No, God, no.
we've been married for 16 years,
Yeah.
and it's not been easy the majority of the time.
Well, I
would
think
say.
we even talked about it on the last episode where we said, look, like you blowing up and you having a little spat or whatever, like that is an evolution, because for years that wasn't the case. For
just
years
a
it was
shutdown.
the shutdown, which is to me the worst thing possible. And I think like we even talk about like Jackson. I think that he's over time has kind of evolved in that, to where he now can communicate stuff better. He feels more comfortable. He's more mature. What he's trying to communicate comes across, versus I'm bottling it up. I'm shutting down for 3 days and then I just explode. So communication is so much more important than I think people give credit for. So
Anyway, I thought that was a great question. I have another question.
I don't know that you answered it at all. Whether or
No, I
not
think
you've changed or evolved.
I think I have. I think I started out with the whole quality time, physical touch,
That's right.
and I think acts of service. And then now quality time is, not really, because I got stuff to do.
Well, but that's, I mean, that raises a good point. I still think so. So you take quality time, for example. Mm-hmm. I think you're confusing it with quantity time, because you take like the trip to Savannah.
Okay.
We had a day together. That was quality time.
That's true. That's
Whereas
true.
in, do I have to be with Kent 7 days a week? No, you don't have to. And then quality time too also extends to things outside of our relationship. So for example, I feel like recently, in the last handful of months or whatever, you go to eat dinner with your girlfriends more often. Mm-hmm. And that's quality time for you, and I guess kind of quality time for me to be away. But that's quality time for you to get away from me, and also quality time for you to spend your quality time with those girlfriends as well. So, and most of the time, it's only like one or two of them at a time. So that is quality.
Quality time is my thing, because now that you're saying it like that, like I have found that in my friendships, I am much more. I've late been much more drawn to people where I can have in-depth, deeper conversations with, and it not just be a surface level type of thing. And maybe that does come back to the whole quality time thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I think that it's probably more important now than any. I think that you were thinking about
Yeah, you're probably
quantity.
right.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't think I had a love language back when we first got together.
Maybe not. Maybe that's why you're so confused.
Maybe.
And maybe that's why you're so confusing.
Maybe.
Back then, I couldn't quite figure out.
Possibly.
couldn't quite figure it out.
We needed the
Well, you
internet
got to
more.
think. I mean, hell, you were, 31, 32.
Something like that.
Yeah, so like in the grand scheme of things, that's still pretty young. I mean,
It is, because these kids are out here now just having kids at this age, whereas we,
Or if
I
that,
had a 5, 6, 7-year-old, something like that.
yeah. So you were still learning
I was
yourself.
Exactly. That's
And
exactly right.
I was 2 or 3 years younger than that even.
Yeah,
So
and I think that's the thing is, like, I keep trying to tell, I try to tell Lauren, and I've told Jackson for a while too, is growing up, that it's completely up to you when you decide if you're ready to get married. You're ready to get married, cool, and you know who you want to be with, great, but you just are not going to understand until it happens to you how much you will change from that 20-year-old kid to the 30-year-old adult, or from the 30 to the 40. It's another big jump in change. Like, there's just so many. You continue to grow as you get older, and honestly probably even just become more. I think I'm probably more aware of my own life and what's going on now than I probably ever have been, and it's probably because I'm not in that go mode, and it's not just trying to survive mode, trying to survive life, trying to survive, kids and school and sports.
Well, I think it's important too, because you're kind of taught your entire life to get an education, work, retire. Mm-hmm. But where does that fulfillment come into play? Because so many times people retire and they pass away, or they have to keep working, or they get a divorce, or all these things. And so that fulfillment that you're hoping for at 60 years old or 65 years old doesn't come for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think that we're blessed in kind of the career changes and the things that have changed in our lives and everything else. I think we're kind of blessed in the fact that we now have the opportunity to find fulfillment in other ways at 40 something years old. Yeah. And so I think that what we get enjoyment from today is far different than what we got enjoyment from how many ever years ago, and far different than what I think we were expected to get.
Yeah. True.
Fulfillment from it. But I think that's the thing with you, is like constantly learning, constantly growing, constantly like challenging yourself with the spiritual stuff, and I that's where your fulfillment comes in.
Absolutely.
And for 20 plus years, you didn't have time to.
Yeah,
and then when you had the boutique, you didn't have time to. So now you're at a point where you finally have time to kind of focus on you and your spirituality and the things that are important to you. So I'm glad that you're able to find that fulfillment. And I just have to continue to make enough money to where you can continue to do this and find fulfillment without having to work all the time.
You do, because you definitely have to do that, because you know what is fulfilling me this week? Making my winter wonderland.
Oh, jeez, yes. I've actually kind of envisioned it a couple times. I'm pretty excited about it for you.
I'm very excited too. So I hope
this thing's no, it's still gone.
I hope the vision that's tumbling around in my head.
It always does. It always does.
Kind of comes out. I think I'm also really excited about it too, because I think like last year I was so far removed from like Black Friday. I was like, I'm moving on from this business. I'm done. Like, phew, it's not a thing. And this year, I think I'm a little bit like back into the grind of like getting ready for the Black Friday event was so freaking exciting.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was the creative and the decorating and how we're going to put it outside and what are we going to do to make it special
and
the
everything.
hustle.
Yeah.
And like I feel that with my winter wonderland, and so I'm very excited about that. I'm so excited to share it with everybody too.
Good. I'm excited
I'm going to invite basically all of Warner Robins over if they want to come.
Oh Lord, we better get a lot of hot cocoa.
Photo shoot.
What do you call rum chata?
We'll
have some rum chata.
Small donation that's going to be required to come over and help.
Well, it's not a donation if it's required.
It's heavily encouraged.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Donation.
Tip jar, heavily encouraged. Yes.
Anyway, I'm excited to tell more
the
about
the amount
that.
of rum chata I pour in your drink will be dependent on
on
how much your
of that
donation is.
donation comes to. That's absolutely right. So we'll talk more about that soon. But anyway, all right. Well, we gotta go because we gotta wrap all this up.
I got to get back to an election.
I got some things to cut out.
Yeah. From this? What do you cut?
From my
For your
my Winter Wonderland.
Yeah. Okay. Love you guys.
All right, love you guys.
Hey, listen. No matter who your candidate is, we're one country. God bless America. We live in the greatest country in the world, and we're blessed to have the freedom that we have.
That's not where I thought this was going.
It wasn't, but then I just kept talking about it. So, all right, love you guys.
You're not going to just finish what you were going to say?
I'm proud to be an American.
I thought you were going to say, listen, no matter who you voted for, if they don't win, you decide you're ready to move out of the country, call this guy. He'll help you sell your current house.
There you go. I put that on Facebook. I didn't know that's where you're going.
Yeah, I thought that's where you're going.
Yeah.
All right. Love you guys so much. Mwah!
Deuces.